Hey, this is Raise Radio, the holistic wisdom podcast for awakening women that weaves food and nutrition, traditional wisdom, spiritual expansion, so that you can feel your best, body, mind, and soul. I'm your host, Raina Lutz. Let's dig in. This is Raise Radio, and today I want to talk about a story that is not like super fun to talk about. It's not a nice story, but I feel like I need to share it because there is a lot of gold in this shit story. And, you know, as we go through our journeys in life and we have these experiences and these stories, there's always something, a learning that comes from these kinds of experiences, whether it is a learning about how to interact with other people or a learning for ourselves and our own internal landscape. For me, it was all of the above. And so this story starts out in about 2016, and I had recently put out my first in-depth, comprehensive program to get women away from the experience of emotional eating and overeating and these obsessive binge behaviors that play out when we grow up in diet culture. And the program guarantees that if you do all the homework in it, that you will not experience these same emotional problems, that you will have healed them if you do the work. And that's the key in this story. So this story, you know, starts with me launching that program and it going out into the world and seeing over and over, you know, these women that I had been attracting into the program that had been struggling with this for 5, 10, 15, even some of them upwards 20, 25, 30 years. And so I knew that this program had so much value, and I knew that because I had seen it work over and over again, that it worked. And so one day I started noticing that one of the women that was in the program with me currently, that she wasn't responding to my messages anymore. It was like she had just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. And, you know, I thought it was really strange, but I also, I like to give people space because I know how it is when you are busy with life, but you're also trying to do like programs or courses or learning or moving forward with certain things, that you start to sort of have that split energy. And sometimes you just need a little bit of time to sort it out, or, you know, give more time to my personal life. And then when this week's done, I can get back to a balance with this, right? So I kind of gave her a little bit of space. It was like, okay, like obviously there's, you know, a little bit of time needed away from this, and that's okay. I'm going to trust that, that is, you know, needed for her at this time. And then a couple weeks went by, and then a month went by, and I thought, no, something's up. This is really strange, because this client had been, you know, raring to go before. She had been very interested and cognizant and taking action and coachable up until this moment. And so, you know, I finally had to reach out and inquire. Like, it was kind of, you know, I was kind of starting to get a little bit worried at that point. Like, are you okay? And this is when things got very complex for me, when there was name calling starting. And it was so fascinating to be called a fraud, because I had spent the years before that studying holistic nutrition and wellness, studying yoga. I had done so much personal development work already to learn how to support people in their wellness and to learn how to support my community, and to, you know, be teaching workshops on fermentation and workshops on gut health and workshops to seniors for their health. And I had been doing so much work because I was fresh out of school, and I just had so much information to give people about what I had learned to help them and to help them feel better. And so to be called a fraud was very hard on my ego, and I had to sit back and try to figure out, okay, what's really going on here? and of course I had, read the email over and over again and realizing, okay, so there's a little bit of things in between the lines here it's not being said. So for one, before you can claim that this program doesn't work for you, I need to see that you have done all the homework. And that was not provided. So I can only assume, I have to assume that wasn't done. And because the actual definition of fraud, someone who's a fraud is someone who is like, a criminal and being deceptive and having like deceptive financial choices, I had to also question why she would be, stopping payments for a program that she's not participating in anymore. So, it's like you needed to have a conversation with me about that before you make these claims about who I am, right? So we needed to have better communication about what your expectations were, or how this program is not meeting your expectations. Or do you need deeper coaching? Or was this just maybe you signed up for this at a time where it wasn't ideal for you, or something changed in your personal life and it became not on the table anymore? And so we needed to just rearrange how this was set up in your life, or find a way to get you out of the program, but in communication with me, rather than having to, point fingers and name call. And so, obviously I had my moments of doubt. I have my moments of sadness. I have my moments of like, how do I fix this? How do I make this better? And it definitely, as a practitioner, like really threw me back, and I had to, question a lot of what I had been doing, or maybe I didn't support her enough, or, I had all these like doubts and feelings of not being good enough. So it triggered my stuff, my people pleasing as well. And so, ultimately, it really helped me to, and this was only, the first experience of many, because as you know, if you've been on a healing journey for a while, oftentimes we get to a point where we have some level of healing and understanding of a situation, and then it comes back around and we say, hey, I thought I figured this one out. And I don't personally, I don't like them being called tests. I don't like that idea. How I like to see them is like, it's like a nudge. It's like, hey, remember how you've been here before, right? It's like you're being nudged to transform. Hey, how are you going to deal with this differently than last time, right? So I like to see it as a nudge. So I had, multiple nudges in the same vein after this experience, but ultimately what it helped me to learn was that I really, really am uncomfortable letting people go, and that I needed to understand how to allow people their own sovereignty, to allow them to decide for themselves when they were just done with things. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm allowing people to treat me poorly, or to, name call or degrade me as a practitioner, or to, try to ruin my reputation. It doesn't mean anything like that. It means that I'm allowing people their own decisions, preferably that they communicate those with me. That would be the respectful way of dealing with it. But that I don't have to try to necessarily shape or force in any way. A lot of people feel manipulated by certain coaches, especially in like sales calls, when they're like, feeling like they need to be in this program. I don't do that to people. I let people choose. I let people say, yes, please take my money. I really need this help from you. I really need this guidance from you. I really need this healing from you. I really want this mentorship from you. I don't tell people they should have it. I allow them to say, yes, please. And so, I had the opportunity to call this woman out and say, that's not fair. You don't get to call me that when you haven't fulfilled the obligations of the program, right? This is clearly not about me. This is about you. And let's have a conversation about this. And then that was it. That was all I got. I never got any further communication. after that. And so, that took time for me to be able to forgive that behavior and to let that person leave my clientele community. Right. And so it was challenging. It was challenging. And so another lesson for me, was like, I don't want to chase people. I don't want to have to appease people. That's my trauma. That's my people pleasing. So I don't, I like sending one email to explain myself. That's great. After that, no. And so I've had a couple experiences since then where it wasn't clientele related. It was just friends where there was falling outs that happened. And now I have this beautiful lesson from this terrible experience of allowing people the opportunity to step up and meet me and to have the conversation and to step up and meet me in an uncomfortable conversation to say, or to potentially be able to say, I said this because I was feeling that, or you triggered this in me, so this is how I reacted. And to be able to communicate about it like adults and have a conversation where everyone is willing to step up to the plate and put things out on the table and just have the conversation about it. And that's what I want now. That's the standard in my life. And so I have this high standard for not only my clients, but also my friends and my colleagues. And I'll tell you, a lot of people don't want to step up to that plate. It's really hard. And, there's so much character building when someone asks of you to step up to the plate. However, in the times I've asked people to do that, the last few times I've asked people to do that, I also have to remember that they have the choice to say no. They have the chance to say no. I don't want to step up to the plate. And they have the right to do that. They have the right to block me, to block the experience, to block the event, or to, however they choose to see that experience. For me, when I have, had to block people out of my life before, it was out of safety. I did not feel safe around that person physically. And so everyone has the right to say, yes, I don't want to do that. I'm not ready to do that. I'm not willing to do that. We all have the right to have that choice. And so, I wanted to share this story because I think it's really important to be able to, share this journey of how I was able to implement in my own philosophy how I deal with people a little bit differently, how I deal with people when they are, leaving in an inappropriate way, and how I take people on. So what I try to do, or to attempt my best to do now, to prevent possibly, it's never everything's going to be 100%, but higher chance of preventing this from happening again is to vet people a little bit more now. So now I won't just work with any old person who sends me an email. Now I will have a phone call with them, and in that phone call, I will do I will be able to check and be like, does this feel right? Does this person feel like they are really committed to the work? Does this person feel like they are coachable and willing and ready on multiple levels to step into this work that I'm asking them to do? Whether it's around our wellness, our deep food secrets, or a healing journey, or addictions, sobriety, like all of that healing work that I help people with requires a lot, and it requires people to take their own form of leadership in their own life, and I get to guide them in that. And so it's important that those people are really, really ready to do that work. And I'm sure there would have been a different experience for me to learn the lesson to get me there, but this is one that got me there faster, was having this label thrown at me. And I have had many other beautiful healing experiences of having lots of other wonderful people have my back and throw wonderful labels at me. And so that so it's so many people having your back. It's like, you know how people say if you have a one thing happen in a day, it just affects your whole day, where you're thinking, you know, I had such a bad day, but it was actually just one experience. So it's the same thing. It's like for a while after that experience happened, you know, I would get good feedback from clients or you know, positive feedback from after classes and things like that. And I'd be like, yeah, thanks. But then in the back of my head, I would feel like, well, someone out there thinks I'm a fraud, right? So it would paint my experiences for quite some time. And it took a while for me to heal that wound. But again, it's taught me a lot about how to better show up in my authenticity, how to better show up as a leader, and how to teach people how to communicate. If you're uncomfortable, have the conversation anyway. See what can come out of it, right? There's so much potential there when we can step up to the plate and meet people, and you just never know. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I hope that you would consider joining me in my Facebook group. There is an amazing community of like-minded women there who would be loving to meet you. And you can find me online, renadawnlutz.com. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a really, really beautiful day today. Thanks for listening. You can find me online at www.renadawnlutz.com.